Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday and welcome to Wash Day Live, where we talk about hairstyles, topics, and concerns that may come up during Wash Day. Now, today's Wash Day is a little bit special. Over the last few weeks, I've been doing a limited series where I show various shapes and how they look on textured hair. And not just showcasing the shapes, but also showing you what these shapes look like on curly hair and also what they look like on straight hair. I think that's our little unique talking points. Okay, so just to recap, the first week we discussed, well, first of all, before I even recap, usually haircuts are based around three primary shapes. You're either dealing with round shape, a square shape, or a triangular shape. And usually it can be a combination of these, or it can just be that solid shape, okay? And I thought it would be great to kind of educate my audience and educate my guests on what these shapes are, primarily because I become obsessed with having strong shapes because I've been hearing a lot of the complaint that people's hair is not turning out right, whether it be a wash and go, twist out, braid out, or whatever style you attempt at home or whatever style you attempt to get. I think one of the factors for that unfavorable outcome is the fact that there's no shape in it. And then I realize I keep saying this over and over, but I'm not giving you examples of what a strong shape may look like, okay? So the primary shapes, like I said, is going to be like a round, a circle, a square, and a triangle, or it can just be a combination of those. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been talking, the first week, I talked about round layers and what that might look like, right? So as you can see, this is primarily a round shape. And this is kind of what it looks like when the hair is blown out. And then I also had examples of what it looked like on a curly wash and go. If you haven't had a chance to see that, definitely go to my YouTube channel. Then last week, I came in and showed you more of a triangular shape, okay? More like a triangle when you look at it on its silhouette. These are all silhouette shapes. You got to see what that looked like on a wash and go, on a curly texture. And then I came back the next day and showed you what that looks like on once it's blown out. Okay, so far we've done round, we've done triangle, and I want to finish this series with a square shape. But before I get into that, I want to make sure that this is streaming on all platforms. I am here today on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I just want to make sure that everything's all good over there. All right, so if you're chiming in on Facebook, YouTube, on Instagram, go ahead and say hello in the chat because I can see the comments from all of these platforms right now. All right, one last thing I want to do here. Display. Never. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. So I am working again with textured hair by way of this mannequin. He has already been cleansed, conditioned, detangled, and dried. Well, dried for the most part. I didn't get to fully dry, but it's about 75% dry. So when we're dealing with curly cuts, it's great if your guest can come in with clean, detangled, and air-dried hair. And that reason is because you want to be able to see the hair in its natural state. And even if there's product on the hair, technically it's in a natural state, but the product does tend to manipulate the curl a little bit. It might shrink it, it may elongate it. So to really see the hair in the way it naturally lives, you want to make sure that it's clean, detangled, and air dried. So like I said, it's still a little bit damp, but I'm going to be able to work with that. I'm going to give you a 360 here. I've been dying to cut these mannequins for a couple of years now since I had them. But like I had mentioned on the previous lives, I was using these mannequins during the pandemic. So I wanted to maintain as much length as possible. But now we outside, baby. We using real people. So I feel comfortable going ahead and doing these cuts. Now, I don't know if you can hear a little tone of disappointment in my voice. And that is because I made a big boo-boo here today. I had to decide whether I was going to still go live or not. And that's because I have a brand new pair of cutting scissors. This is something that I should be extremely excited about. But I didn't want my first time to be using these cutting scissors to be on a mannequin, because using your good cutting scissors on a mannequin is not really recommended. So I had my old pair, and it's a big mix-up, and I have to explain this mix-up. So I had an old pair. It was my only pair, but I had to send them, prepare myself to send them out to be sharpened, by the factory-approved sharpening. Okay, so in order to do that, I have to ship them to California. So I said to myself, what am I going to do if I ship my cutting scissors to California, my only cutting scissors? So I decided to get a new pair that I could use while the other one is being shipped to California. But I waited for the new one to come in. Anyway, long story short, I forgot the old ones at home, and now I have to use these new ones. So anyway, I got these. These are from Free Salon Education. This is the Precision Elite. I was going to be talking about these, giving you more of a full review on another video, but I got to whip them out now. I'm excited to be using them for the first time, but I am not excited to be using them for the first time on a mannequin. So I have to kind of pivot my emotions a little bit and just move on. There are bigger problems in this world, right, than me crying over my scissors. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing I want to do here, you got the 360, is I'm going to part the hair into 4 sections, straight down the middle, from the tip of the head to the middle nape of the neck, and then from ear to ear. But I'm going to split the hair at the apex, and that's at the highest point of the head. The reason why I want to do that is because the way that the hair falls. We want all the hair that falls behind that section. But one of the things that I'm just getting used to now is with the curly cut, you're not really using a comb because you don't want to, disturb the curls in any way. So I think it's already down the center here. I'm just going to further just bring it down the center all the way to middle back. Okay. And then I am going to part it again. From ear to ear. Okay. It usually falls right behind the ear. Okay, so I'm going to just get these sections away. While I work on sectioning the other side. Okay, so feel free to make your comments, your declarations. on any of the platforms that I'm streaming on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Okay, let's just make sure it's right down the center back. Okay. So these are our 4 sections. So when we're dealing with square layers, the way I like to visualize it, or the way that it was taught to me, was to think of a box. Think of, let me turn this a little bit. Think of a box on the head. So it's going to be this shape right here. A box, okay? But even in the front, it's going to be a box coming out, and from the back, it's going to be a box. It's almost like this mannequin head is in a box, like I'm cutting an actual square around the head, but I'm going to be using the hair to be able to do that. So that's going to take, I think, the most awareness, because with the round shape, it's easy to just kind of follow the round of the head. And with the triangle shape, everything is kind of coming out to like this 45-degree angle. But with the square shape, you really have to be aware of the head and your body position, okay? And also that kind of how you're holding it from the head. It has to always be straight back, straight out, or straight to the front, or straight out the top, just like a box. So it's either going to be like this, or like that, if that makes any sense. All right. So hopefully once the shape starts coming together, it'll all start to make a little sense. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and part out that first section. So what this first section is going to, I'm just going to establish my guide here first. And even with that first section, I'm going to make sure that even that is going straight across, okay? Everything about this is going to be like a box. Just finger combing it a little bit. Okay. All right, so this first section, I'm going to do right down the middle. And you can freehand this too, okay? But for now, I am going to cut with a very, very slight tension, okay? My first cut with my new scissors. Okay. So I want to make sure that the whole thing is going to be able to be cut. So I'm just pulling down a piece from the side to just check. And I think right here is going to be good. Okay. Wow. Woo, like butter. Like butter, 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 butter. I haven't felt a cut like that. Whoa. Since the last time I got my shears sharpened, not even then. So good. I'm just using my fingers as a guide right now, making sure that they're straight. Right now, I'm just making sure that both sides are aligned. Oh, they're so sharp. I want to make sure I'm not even going to cause a little massacre over here. Okay, just checking for balance. But again, the hair is curly, so you don't want to pull it down too much because the hair is going to end up springing back. Okay? So. All right, so I feel comfortable moving from here. So now that we've established a guide, and again, you can't pull it down too much because this is just to make sure that they are both balanced. I'm going to just go over this one more time because one side just looks slightly shorter. Okay. All right. I'm just sectioning the hair into just manageable sections at this point. So I've taken the 4 sections and now splitting it into like maybe a 2-inch wide subsection. And now I'm going to start to create my layers. My square layers. I have to, for anybody who's just tuning in late, today is all about the square layers. So I'm going to start with the middle panel here, like about a 1-inch wide panel right down the middle. It's hard to tell if the mannequin is straight for you guys or not. Okay, but I'm going to start out with section right down the center. Okay. And again, everything straight out of the head. Making sure that I get my guide here. And I actually make this section a little bit smaller, more manageable. It's all about being manageable when it comes to textured hair. Okay. A 1-inch panel right down the middle. Okay, this is easier for me to see. The hardest part of this haircut right now for me is just not being able to comb it the way I really want to comb it, you know? Okay. It's very similar to the round layers, except that I'm not going to be following the head shade, and you'll get to see that when I get to these higher sections. Go ahead and move this hair out the way. It's okay to move the hair out the way just so you have more control over the section. I just want to make sure that I am getting this very first. If you don't get this first section correct, then you're going to be doing a lot of correction, okay? Oh, I'm talking over here. I should be talking over here. So if you don't get this section correct from the jump, you're going to be doing a lot of correction and trying to balance out the cut, all right? Which is why I'm just spending a little extra time here establishing that first one, okay? Okay, I feel good with this one right now. Now I'm going to just work on the left side. I'm going to take a piece of the new section and a piece of the old one. But always want to make sure that you can see what you're doing. I think I might have to clip my hair up. Okay, I'm just following this. You'll see, you get to see more when I get to the right side, okay? Everything straight out from the head. You know what's another thing I want to teach myself how to do? I want to teach myself how to hold my scissors a different way, because I was taught this way and to hold a comb in my hand that way, but I want to learn how to hold it like this. That's going to take some practice. Okay. So just holding that straight out from the head. I'm going to cross check. Everything should look like one straight line going across. Beautiful. Right here is just a little flyaway hairs, but it looks really, really good. All right, so now that I'm on the right side, you'll be able to see a little bit more of what that angle looks like. Taking a piece of the new section and a bit of the old section, just to make sure I can see enough so I can see. I'm going to hold it straight out from the head, and I'm going to cut. Take a piece of that previous section and the new section, holding it straight out. Gonna cut. Going to cross check. Again, should be one straight line going across. Do have some little flyaways here. Here's what it looks like so far. I learned my lesson, so I'm going to make this probably 1 inch wide as well. Not going to take too much up. It's my next section. Right down the middle. At this point, it's much easier because you're just really following your guide and holding it straight out from the head. Making sure each section is cut straight out from the head. Not straight out, straight back is what I meant to say, straight back. Because if it's not straight back, then it starts to round. Okay, and we want to keep it square. Just making sure it's coming straight out the head. I can see my guide. Bringing down my next bite-sized section. Probably just do 2 more. Okay. And I'm just repeating the steps here. Straight back from the head, not straight out. Last section. I'm just going to clip this out of the way. At this point, it's really, really easy. I have to get on this side to make sure I'm straight out from the head. Straight back. I keep saying straight out. Straight out. Okay, let's check it out. Kind of see how that has a more boxy angle. There's a straight line here and a straight line here. There's a slight graduation right here. I probably could have just held this a little bit straighter out, or maybe the hair is just curled in a little bit. But you can kind of see the squareness of that shape, right? Okay. Compared to that triangle shape and the round shape, this is more of a square shape. Okay? So I'm going to follow this throughout the side. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I got to make a guide. And what I found that with these sideburns, my goodness, they kind of throw off the cut, but we're going to leave them there. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, if I was going for a specific shape, what I would do is go ahead and create a line here like a bob. But what I'm going to do is just take a piece of the previous section and I'm going to use that as a guide. So with the box, there's going to be a point, right? So this is a long point that I over directed to the back, pushed it back. When I bring it around to the side, there's going to be a long point here. Okay, like the box. The box has a point, four corners, right? Oh, I picked up the comb. Such a habit. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is look for my corner, and that's going to be, when I come around the bend here, I'm going to take the short point from here, and then that's going to be my guide to cut straight across, right? So that I can continue my box. And then I'll be able to clean that up at the end, right? Okay. Ah, the comb. There we go. Gonna make sure I want to comb this so bad, but I'm training myself. Okay, so now that I have that guide here, I can now start cutting straight out the head. Hold this straight out and cut it. So when you're cutting square, it's like a box. So you're going to have corners, okay? But these corners can be really fun when you start to style. Okay, you're gonna cross check it by holding it straight out. Looks good. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing on the left side. Same thing I did in the back. You can kind of see that square shaped building, right? If everything was staying in place, you would see it better. Right? Just think of a box. 1, 2. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the left side. cross check now. These sideburns, I feel like I just want to shave them off. But okay, so obviously the thing with textured hair is that as the hair should have been fully dried, my bad. So as I'm cutting it, some of it is kind of shrinking back in. If it was 100% dried, wherever I put it pretty much is where it would lay. But nonetheless, the shape is pretty much 90% there, but there's some pieces that kind of are shrinking as it's drying, but it's okay. We have the idea, let me move out of the way, of what this square looks like. Oh, wait a minute. I could even take this square up over the head. So I think that's, what am I thinking? I'm not done yet. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a section right down the middle, and then I'm going to connect the two sides. All right. But anyhow, you can see here, from here, what this square shape looks like. A little bit of angle here, but box here, box here, box here, right? More square shape. All right, so now I'm going to finish this up by connecting the square on top. Okay, so I could either connect these two sides. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to connect the two sides. Okay. And then we'll be done, and then I'm going to dry it so you can see it curly. I think today I'm going to use the mousse. Last week I used the gel. For the mannequin, it's a little heavy, but the curl shaping mousse, it's just perfect. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just take a piece from, it's like I'm going to do a Mohegan section, right, which is a middle panel right down the center to create my guide for the top. Okay. So I'm just taking the long point from the back as my guide. Okay, right here. That was my last section. And we're gonna cut everything straight across like a box. Okay, everything coming straight out of the head. So. Kind of wanted to see what it looked like with the length on top, but I'll do it on, I can always do that on another mannequin. Let's just do the true square. Okay, all right. Everything straight out from the head. But when I get to the front, I'm not going to follow the round of the head. I'm going to still hold that straight up. Okay. Just going to continue this over to the side. Until I run out of hair to cut. I'm going to be running out of hair to cut in terms of length, okay? Holding everything straight up. Okay. What I'm going to do is cross-check it for you. Cross-check it. I cut it vertical that way, so I'm going to check it horizontal this way. And you can see it's one straight line going across like a box. Okay. So I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. Using the previous guide and holding everything straight out from the head. just like the left side, I'm going to end up running out of hair. I'm going to check to see if this is going to reach, but I doubt it. Yeah, okay. So I cut vertically, so I'm going to check horizontally just for balance here. Okay, so both sides are balanced. I'm trying to let you see without, next time, I think it's always better when I wear a white t-shirt instead of the black t-shirt, so you can kind of see the shape a little bit better, right? So that straight line going across here, and the same thing on the side. So it's like a box, like I said. So this is square layers. Now, once the hair is dry, styled and dried, we can go in and do the refining. So the refining does not happen on the initial cut. The refining always happens once the hair is styled and dried, okay? So tomorrow when I come, I'm gonna do this styling on the live, but when I come back tomorrow, I'm gonna show you how this haircut looks straight, okay? So let me jump right into styling it. And like I said, today I'm going to be using the Orbe Curl Shaping Mousse. I used it on my first wash and go, and then the second one I used the Curl Gelée for shine and definition. I think that for this particular mannequin, the Curl Shaping Mousse is just giving it the most bounce, the most volume, and while still giving it the definition. Okay, so not a one size fit all, even with the mannequin. Even the mannequin is getting its own regimen. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just wet the hair back down. And if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'm gonna take a quick look at them, if any. And one thing about the questions that you ask on the live, they don't save on Instagram. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat so I can see them now and answer them now. What I like about the square layers is I had to get used to it too when I learned how to do it, are the corners that come with the box shape, with that square shape, sorry. These little corners, you can, when the hair is straight or blown out, you can kind of, play around with them. So that's one thing that I really like about square layers. You get that volume of having kind of like a round 90-degree, but with a little bit more pieces to play around with. Also, the square shape is technically supposed to be more of a masculine shape, where the round shape is more feminine. So that's something you might want to keep in mind if you have strong features that you want to soften up. Sometimes that square look is not going to be flattering if that's something that you're trying to minimize, okay? So when we're styling hair, cutting hair, we're always thinking about what features that we want to bring out and what features do we want to maximize and what features do we want to minimize. And that is between me and my guests to figure out, you to figure out on your own. But again, you know, we know what we want to see, so we create our own standards, right? We're just going by what makes us feel good. So if you identify as a man and you're wearing a round shape, there's nothing wrong with that. If you identify as a female and you're wearing a square shape, there's nothing wrong with that. It's like what style makes you feel good. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I am going to go ahead and put that curl shape and mousse all over. And then I'm going to brush it through. I'm going to brush it through, and then I'm going to go in row by row. I think honey needs to be dried off a little bit. I'm going to use my flexible detangle brush, my Stacy Ciceron flexible detangle brush, to kind of brush the product in. Sometimes you'll see me use a leave-in, and sometimes not, depending on the hair texture, and the density. I realized with the mannequin, I wanted to stay as full as, I don't want to weigh it down. I want it to stay as full as possible to really accentuate the shapes of the end result. So that's why I'm going with the curl mousse today. So I want the bounce that the curl mousse provides, and I'll still be able to get that definition. But I do recognize that without the priming lotion, it doesn't brush through as easy. But that's just, one thing I'm willing to kind of give up, so to speak, for the other. Okay. So I'm going to come back in here. Now that the product is all brushed through, I'm still now going to go in row by row. The wash and go is always best when the hair is soaking wet. I'm using my Stacy Ciceron Ultra Fine Mist water bottle. It makes the water come out in a extra fine mist, like an aerosol. Less mess, especially on low porosity hair that doesn't absorb the hair absorb the water so easily. How long have we been on live so far? We've been on live for about 1 hour and 8 minutes. Any questions so far while I'm just kind of going through this repetitive motion? Let me know in the chat. You kind of have to feel to see, if the product is kind of worked all the way through, if the cuticle is sealed. Again, even on a mannequin, you want to practice this kind of always feeling your way through. This can also be done at the shampoo bowl for more convenience and unlimited access of water. For maximum definition, you're going to always want to work with smaller sections so you can get the product all the way from roots to ends, and you can kind of finger comb or brush through as needed. Here for it. Okay, my stylist Lucy. Thanks for joining in, and thank you for giving me some life in the chat. Everybody's quiet today. I'm not used to that. Also, when you're doing your wash and go style, would be a perfect time, or actually in your consultation, you kind of decide on style options. But usually, even if in the consultation, you might have come to a certain agreement, but as you're styling it, you're noticing maybe a part change might want to happen. Like instead of a middle, you might want to go to the side. This is the perfect time to decide if that's what you want to do. Not that you can't change it once it's dry, but especially these tips I'm giving you are mainly for highly textured hair. You don't want to move it around too much after it's dry, because you really want to maintain the definition to last as long as possible. So you can move it after it's dry, but if you already know that you want it to the side, I suggest that you make plans to do it while you're setting the hair, because that's really what the wash and go is. It's just a set. Any tips for curl textures past, meaning tighter or looser? Because tighter is primarily what I talk about. So for tighter textures, I go in with a gel and not necessarily a mousse. And I don't brush at all. I mostly just finger comb and use no elevation at all. And I don't touch it, I don't scrunch it. I just kind of place it exactly where I want it to be. And that kind of preserves the definition if that's what your goal is. So, and also with a tighter curl hair, if that's what you're talking about, I would normally detangle it and use a leave-in conditioner like Orbe priming lotion as a prep and to detangle the hair and to hydrate the hair. So I usually would use a leave-in and a gel on tighter textured hair. Tighter, yep. So everything I just said applied to tighter. I don't brush each section. After I detangle it with the leave-in, I just go in with a gel and not a mousse. And I finger comb and don't brush. In terms of styling. In terms of cutting, the jury's still out on that. I like to stretch the hair first and then cut, and in a precision way, only because what I'm realizing is I just love the versatility of cutting the hair stretched out, because you can go from curly to straight kind of with ease, Sometimes the curly cuts don't translate when it's time to wear the hair blown out, if that's an option for your guests. And each section is different, even on the mannequin. So you want to just pay attention as you're going through and styling each section. Hope you don't mind me asking too many questions. How I'm fascinated isn't getting bad for the hair and scalp. I don't mind the questions at all. I prefer them. I'm so happy that you're here, actually. It makes the lives more exciting, and I'm sure that the questions you have when people watch it on the replay, they'll be so happy that you asked them. So is it bad for the hair and scalp? Isn't gel bad for the hair and scalp? I wouldn't. That is kind of a broad statement because is gel. I don't think gel is bad for the hair and scalp per se. You have to really study your ingredients. I think that there are some gels out there that have like heavy animal proteins in there or heavily alcohol based, so that might dry out the hair or make it stiff. I can see how that would be a problem on the hair and scalp, but the gels that I use are very hydrating, silicone free. They don't get super hard on the hair and they don't cause buildup. I think that's the main concern about healthy hair and scalp is dealing with buildup, you know? So I would say no. If you use the right product, then you don't really have to worry about going against the hair and the scalp, which is kind of like why I really love using the products that I do, because it's a hair care system, you know. It's a hair care solution first and styling second. So I'm never concerned about anything being unhealthy for the hair or scalp. But you have to do your research on ingredients, you know? And I've been doing a lot of that lately. Always, but more so lately. Yeah. This is great. I love the questions. It makes watching it more interesting, and also the replays. Whoever's catching it on YouTube and Facebook, they're gonna love that you ask questions. If the technique you're using doesn't work and you just have that one wonky section that doesn't want to curl, what do you do? Well, first off, that's a great question because not all hair types curl, so we have to be careful on how we use that terminology and really try to manage the expectations. What I mean by that, like let's say, for example, 4B hair, what we call 4B hair, it's more in an uncategorized state. So it has no particular shape. It's more like a zigzag or S shape. You're not going to get curl out of that section. Also, if there's any heat damage or anything like that. So you might want to figure out that and before you get started with the set, because you can add maybe perm rods, you can add flexi rods, you can add different types of sets that will give you more of a uniform curl pattern. You know, if it's really that obvious and noticeable, like some people have a lot of heat damage around the front hairline, sometimes you can just stick in a quick little flat twist and put a perm rod on the end, and that sometimes does the job. But it becomes hard to maintain. So that's something you want to kind of look out for, especially as soon as you wet the head. You don't want to go through the whole process and then notice that there's straight pieces in the front that you can't manage, right? So you want to try to figure that out before you put the energy into styling. But if you do have, like some people have more of a resistant hair in the crown, or me, like I'm starting to gray, so that hair is super resistant. You might have to switch up products. You might have to actually comb or brush that section. But again, if it's something like chemical damage or heat damage, you might want to consider a different set. All right, so now I'm going to start diffuse drying. We're already on for an hour and 24 minutes, so let's see. I also want to throw in there that diffuse drying is not my top drying preference. My top drying preference would be to use a hooded dryer. What curl type would you say don't curl where you would start looking for a different set? It's not, you would just have to see it. It's not a specific, it's not one size fits all. You literally just have to see it and figure it out when you see it. If it's not curling, then that's it. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Y'all, I was today years old when I found out that the diffuser has holes in the teeth. Did you know that? Your diffuser has holes in it? I did. I just found that out recently. Let me know in the chat if you're watching this live on the replay, if you knew that the little fingers inside the diffuser had holes where air was coming out, which is so you can get close, to the scalp as needed, or like really get air in there. I can't be the only one. Let me know in the chat. All right, it's been 1 hour and 30 minutes. I think what I'm going to do is I am going to put the mannequin under the dryer for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to clean up my area, and then I'm going to come back live on Instagram only just to show the finished styling, okay? Because this hair is not going to be dry probably for another 15 minutes, all right? So turn on your notifications. I'll be back to show you how I get the volume and do any refining, with the cut, all right? So come back in 15-20 minutes, turn on the notification. I'll be coming back live on Instagram only. All right, so just to recap, today is our finale to our limited series where we talk about different shapes on textured hair. We started the first week with a round layer, then we went into more of a triangle shape, a graduated bob, and we're finishing it off with square layers. Not only did we go over these cutting techniques, I also styled it in curly and then came back the next day and did them straight. So I hope you enjoyed this limited series. I will be coming back with some live models very soon and also in the new year. But yeah, I'm going to finish off this styling. Thank you guys so much for watching. Come back in 15-20 minutes here on Instagram only. All right. So I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.